Pharah can rain hell from the skies. With a jetpack and long-range rockets, she can be a nightmare, especially if you fall into what she wants you to do. But of course, this video is designed to make sure that you don't make those mistakes that make you and your team fall prey to this bird of prey. The number one mistake is not playing D.Va. Of course, I've made a D.Va guide, which many of you have told me has been very useful, and I'm glad to hear that. So useful, in fact, when I play matchmaking as Pharah now, I see divas swarming me, making it impossible for me to play Pharah. It really is true that you have to be careful what you teach people, because before long, your goofy tricks are quickly gone. D.Va, by far, is the best counter to Pharah, not Soldier and McCree. Very important. Soldier and McCree are good at crossfiring Pharah, punishing her when she gets out of position, but they do not straight up counter her. Of course, the strongest counter to Pharah is a Widow headshot, but if you could just headshot her with Widow, you wouldn't be watching this video because you'd be too busy being top 500. D.Va, on the other hand, counters Pharah at all of her engagement types. When playing from afar, the Korean D.Va style to carefully eat impactful rockets that are about to hit your teammate make Pharah so inefficient that the rest of your team will succeed at battling everything else. Don't let a Pharah snipe you uncontested from far range. Stop standing out in the open and just taking spam forever. Engage on her team when it matters and have your D.Va eat the shots with good defense matrix management, only using the fuel of defense matrix when damage is about to come in, not leaving it up like a Rhine shield, but instead actively catching damage as if you're reaching out with a catcher's mitt. Because when you do that, Pharah's ability to poke you from long range is just gone. It's so important as D.Va that you remember as well to pocket your hit scans. Do not dive healers, especially in this meta. It was multiple metas ago where that was a good thing, no longer. Especially as D.Va, you're too slow, your damage isn't that great. Don't go crazy in trying to do all the damage yourself. Instead, realizing that catching rockets is what you do as D.Va. Don't feel like standing around babysitting him is doing nothing. That is your job. It's like Reinhardt holding a shield in front. D.Va stands behind Soldier, waiting patiently for a rocket to come in, only using Defense Matrix when she sees it and catches it out of the air. When played that way, Defense Matrix feels like it lasts forever. Of course, the other playstyle against Pharah is chasing her down with the mech, because D.Va's mech takes a handful of rockets to kill. If you're also using good Defense Matrix management, Pharah having to kill a D.Va takes like a year. So, before we talk about anything else, that's the first thing that you want to have in your kit. Someone in your team should be playing D.Va. It's all you need, really, because if you do everything else, you can have ground-based characters, you can have whatever you want. Junkrat, Reaper, I don't care. As long as the D.Va plays good enough, everyone else can ignore the Pharah more or less and do their job while D.Va takes care of the Pharah. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily that you want to have Junkrat against Pharah. You probably would like a Soldier too, but of course there's the next rule, which is winning the ground game. Here, coming up to the choke of Hanamura, I am sure this gives you flashbacks to many a Hanamura game where your team stood at the choke and absorbed poke from a character that has no ranged drop-off with splash. Why stand at the choke and absorb that forever? Instead, take the battle into close range. We funnel our team indoors and the enemy makes the mistake of chasing us and getting outmanned. But even if they don't, we can avoid the Pharah entirely and dive either onto the point or onto their backline with speed. Lucio speed boost counters Pharah. Lucio himself can't duel Pharah, but of course, when we think about Overwatch and building a team comp that out-strategizes your opposition, it isn't just about being able to kill that character yourself, it's about setting up your team to not fall victim to what the enemy carries want to do. Of course, Pharah would love for you to slowly stand at the choke and walk aimlessly into her spam. Lucio, with teamwork, means that you glide right on past all that. Get the fight in quick, because Pharah's weakness, of course, is inefficiency. Her big, chunky bursts of damage, 120 damage per second per rocket, might sound like a lot, but you have to take into account that it's not easy to hit multiple shots, especially when the enemy team is speed boosting towards you. Whereas your teammates can be fighting the characters on the ground much faster, making for a much more efficient team fight on your side. Speed boost is the key to outpositioning Pharah. Take the fight elsewhere quickly, and speed boost does that. Here on Hanamura Point B, they keep the Pharah on defense, which means this exact point remains true. They don't have a character that can brawl on the point very well. She can't protect her supports, so if we get our tank presence on the point immediately and brawl out against the ground, it's not like she's a McCree with a flashbang that's going to punish us from doing so. Nope, we can just run right in towards their supports, ignore the Pharah to start, and we're going to trade out efficiently. Yes, the Pharah will get some kills. That's a given, but that happens with any DPS character. You're going to take some casualties on some fights, but it's much more efficient to make a coordinated play on the objective, which she is weak at defending. This is one reason why she's incredibly mediocre at high levels of play. The pros know how to play the objective together as a team, know how to take a fight, and make a clean engagement so that she is unfavored to win it, and you can do this too. Knowledge is power in Overwatch, and now you can wield it yourself. I see a lot of players that think Zenyatta Ana is the way to go to counter Pharah, but what this misunderstands is that the positioning of the fight is so important for Pharah to have weakness that if you simply just stand and allow her to swarm over you, you will get overwhelmed quite easily. Although I will in a second say that Ana is sick at shooting Pharah, even better than the hitscans McCree and Soldier, who are expected to be able to deal with her. You're going to have to still set up the engagement in such a way where Ana can be at a long range safely to be able to harass the Pharah before she can get in close. If you're dealing with an engagement like this, where the enemy is able to surround you, you're just going to be at a firing squad for the long-range rockets. Instead, if you're trying to do a defense like this enemy team is, you have to have shuttle control. You have to have the high ground to deny the Pharah's capability from getting in over you. If the Ana and the Zen were set up on top of the high ground, they would be able to hit a few shots before I could close the distance and flank them. Whereas here, I have all the space, and before you know it, the Pharah is raining justice from above. So I still would say you would want a Lucio to take the right engagement because, of course, the rest of your team needs to get into that positioning where Pharah will be weak to attack. Get your soldier onto the high ground as quick as possible, speed boost him up there, ferry him around, boop the tanks off him so that he can get a clean engagement onto the Pharah from medium range. You have to set up these synergies and then Pharah looks extremely weak. But short of that, of course, there is the mistake of Ana players attempting to simply heal when there's a Pharah on the field. There are some duels that supports definitely want to be taking. There's a time and place for all of this, and although Ana should be healing most of the time, when there's a Pharah in the sky, remember, Ana has one of the best ways to deal with Pharah in the entire game. Even with her damage nerf, she still is more effective at dealing with a long-range poking Pharah than McCree or Soldier ever will be. She can 4-shot her at a distance at a range where Soldier can barely even touch her. It was nice when it was a 3-shot, but still, with careful aim, you can do this as well. Remember, although you might think you have to heal your team, and you definitely do, don't get me wrong, it's far more efficient to be making sure that you keep an eye on her to keep her away from damaging your team rather than allowing her the position she wants and expecting you to be able to heal your way out of that situation. You're not going to be able to match her ability to deal damage because before long, she's coming after you. When she's at range, know that you have the advantage. Pharah has to take a 2, 3, 4 second prediction on where you're going to be. Although you do slow down when you scope in as Ana, take your time, line up the body shot, you don't need a headshot like a Widow does, and hit the center of mass and lean more towards her legs because they're a little bit more forgiving of a hitbox, sort of like Lucio in that regard. When you aim for the midsection area, you'll start to find that hitting shots with Ana on Pharah is a great way to deal with her. A lot of times, Pharahs end up not dying because there isn't the appropriate amount of focus fire, and most players just expect one player to shoot her by themselves. But that's not really how it works. Now, the last way to counter Pharah is winning the air battle yourself. Have a comp that can deal with the low ground fight quickly and contest the Pharah in air with your own Pharah. And in doing so, you can win the air supremacy battle. And all the while in the duel, you're kind of jockeying for who can get away with shooting the ground more. And if one Pharah has her eyes peeled on the ground for too long, they often can fail to dodge a rocket that's coming from the enemy Pharah. There's a bit of chicken playing this way. And it can be kind of annoying, but it also can be pretty effective if you start to learn how to shoot mid-air rockets. Of course, these are incredibly difficult, but with enough practice at it, I think you can start to learn the movement patterns of how Pharahs move. It's possible to concussion blast towards a Pharah or jump jet up towards her to get in close range, because the closer you are, obviously the less lead you have to put on it, and especially if you surprise her, you don't have to work too hard to be able to predict your shots. But otherwise know that being above the enemy Pharah is disorienting for them and also helps limit the directions they can go to dodge the rocket, because of course the vertical plane is where her jetpacks work mostly. So if you kind of cut out most of the mobility that way, the rocket that you line up should be fairly easy to hit, and her mobility ability shoots her directly up in the air, so you remove that from being an option for her to dodge. Whereas if you're shooting upwards, then sometimes you can jump over your rocket. But other than that, don't focus too hard at trying to dedicate to winning the Pharah duel, because it's more about harassing her and dodging her rockets while you still hit some key rockets on the ground to help the ground battle win. Because once you win that, the ground battle snowballs, you take the objective, and then Pharah is a sitting duck. Well, probably more of a flying duck, but if she has to come down to the ground, she's as good as a clay pigeon as far as I'm concerned. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did and found it useful, please leave a like. It really does help us out and lets us know that you're enjoying the content. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe, because we upload each and every day, so you're gonna wanna hit the bell icon so that you get notified when our videos go live. Linked in the description, you can check out our Discord server and our Twitter, where we tweet out news, updates, and cool clips. That's been it for me. I've been Frito for your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.